Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda, we're going to discuss identifying additional reductions to lower the tax levy.
Thank you. So, as you're aware, the budget did not pass, and that 15% is a tall tax. With that being said, sorry, do you need me to speak up louder? Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm talking a lot today. So the budget did not pass. So what we're looking at is looking at additional items. I think there was a lot of misconception throughout. We aren't looking to cut all extracurriculars. We are not looking at cutting athletics or the drama productions, things along those lines. But we also have to be able to afford everything that we offer within the district. So, with that being said, we have some discussion here tonight amongst the board and the community on areas that we can reduce spending and get the tax levy down. And we're looking at single digits. So we've heard the community that 15% was too much. So tonight we're looking at other areas that we can reduce. First and foremost, when we go through the line items in the budget, some administration, including myself, have asked for a freeze. So our salary will not increase. We have transportation, facilities, myself. We also are looking at reducing our business official to 4 days a week. And those cost savings can help lower the overall tax levy. On top of that, we still have some work to do. And we're looking across keeping our athletics, keeping our extracurriculars, but still being able to provide a solid education for our students of West Canada Valley. So I'm going to open it up to the board to start discussing some areas that we can continue to look at. The first one would be the 5 o'clock bus run at a savings of about $19,000 a year. Right now, we offer transportation to our athletes at 5 p.m. Some days we have 6 kids, some days we have 25 kids. These are tough decisions. What is the board's thought on the 5 p.m. run?
Is it one sport that's higher than the other for kids to ride home at?
In
It's
season.
usually, yeah, it's usually spread out. Modified kids definitely utilize the 5 p.m. bus run more than the varsity.
How many buses usually?
Under contract, we have to have 5 buses, because there's 5
Five
different,
ready.
5 ready, and it doesn't matter how many kids are on these buses, we can't.
How many kids are usually on buses?
It depends. On our good days, we could probably have 15. On our bad days, we could have like Mr. Ray, very,
One, or one or none on a bad day.
I mean, it seems like a really good option to do away with that.
you know. And these are just areas. This is a conversation.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is I'm trying to reduce spending while offering a solid education. And what we're mandated to do and what we do outside of SED regs is we do an awful lot for our students. And I don't want to change that. I want to be able to offer our students a solid, concrete education and opportunities when this is what they have in the community. A lot of our students are involved in extracurriculars. A lot of our students, whether it's athletics, music, the arts, that's what you take from a rural school. We are the hub. And it pains me to have any of these conversations, but the reality is we have to look at reducing spending.
You said that was 19.
Roughly 19.
Roughly 19,000.
I'm gonna actually take questions. Yes.
Is the 5 o'clock bus run aided, and if so, is the 19,000 before or after the revenue from the aid?
It is not aided. because it's not to and from school, it's an extracurricular. The salaries, I believe, are aided, but the transportation piece is not. So salaries, yes, but the mileage, no.
So the 19,000 incorporates the mileage, gas, and the portion of the salaries that's remaining after aid, or is that,
It's before aid.
Before aid.
it's before aid? So
Correct.
do you know what it would be after aid
We would get back.
on the salary part?
So 88% of 19, so we would have to, so we would get a substantial amount back. I do understand your question. But these are just, I'm having
No, I understand, but are you getting it back on the whole 19 or just the salary
a
piece of
portion,
it?
just the salary piece of the 19.
So is it like 88% of $4,000? You know what I mean? Like, is it?
No, the 19 is a salary.
19 is the salary, so yes, the 8 is, sorry, I'm trying to, the 8 is based on the 19.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yes.
19 is the full salary prior to aid.
So you're gonna get 88% back on 19? So you're only
So that's
cutting,
not
so
a
it's-
huge savings.
It's not.
So you're only
but
saving
again,
like
it's upfront,
$3,500.
is the cost.
So you're saving 3,300 after aid?
So the 19 doesn't include like the
Right,
the
you can't get it right.
like gas and mileage and things like that.
It's just the driver's salary.
So you would know what that is.
You'll get it the year after.
But do we get any savings?
Average.
When they get
You'll get
money
3,300.
back, they won't get it out?
I would assume it's the modified students that ride the bus more than the high school kids.
Correct.
And so,
Most of them drive.
most of the practices are right after school for modified, I believe.
Yeah.
They try to schedule it.
Right, that's right after school and they go.
If we're decreasing the amount of modified that's being offered, is that also gonna decrease the number of students riding that 5 o'clock bus?
If that's a number, if that's a area we go down, it would.
If you don't mind me backtracking for a minute, you said, Kelly, in this case, a 4-day work week, so we get able to take care of the business at hand in 4 days?
We will be. It'll be, there'll be some challenges and there'll be some, communication aspect, but this is an area to help the district, and I commend Kelly for looking into it. Limiting, sorry,
Let's just think about that, athletics to league games only.
yeah,
So if we limit athletics to just league games only, what does that look like?
right now, you can basically play 20 games. And a portion of those, I want to say up to maybe 12 to 16 is based on your league, and then outside of the league is extra. So you're allowed to schedule so many non-league games outside of the league.
Would that eliminate us traveling 2-3 hours, not 2-3 hours, but would that eliminate?
Potential, but a lot of those are, one year we go there, the next year they come back to us. So it's give and take across the board with athletics. So we've looked at, these are things that districts have done in the past when their budget crunch, where they have to crunch. I have a hard feeling, and I'll be honest with everybody, with athletics, it's hard to pick and choose the importance of what athletics or extracurricular is, because what's important at this table might not be important to our students, and vice versa. So with that, in a contingency budget, we wouldn't have an option, because we would have to have staff reductions or district reductions of $835,000. So we actually looked at proposing a budget at a 9% increase. And with that, what's that?
Tax levy.
Tax levy, sorry. A 9% tax levy, and between the cuts prior to the last budget and this budget, we're looking at $1.1 million in reductions in 1 year, which is astronomical when you're talking a $22 million budget. In that, certain areas that we looked at was the reduction, the freezing of salaries, the reduction of Kelly's. Also, we looked at limiting or cutting the 5 o'clock bus run. Let me just go through this. Eliminating all equipment out of the budget for next year. Eliminating uniforms.
I can understand the uniforms, but the equipment, that, I mean, you have to have that up to code.
It's a floor scrubber for the maintenance department and a zero-turn mower for.
You mean like I thought you meant like sports
No.
equipment. Oh,
This is just equipment general for,
okay, I was thinking like helmets,
No, that's all.
okay.
it's
What was
looking,
savings?
what is that, for the
Uh,
equipment?
New uniforms, what's the saving on that?
About 20,000.
How much?
About 20.
For the uniform?
What about new equipment?
Equipment was 29.
Between that, because we had the floor scrubber and a zero-turn lawnmower for facility.
29 total.
Oh, the lawnmower?
Yeah, removing both.
How much was that?
The lawnmower was 16,000. And the floor scrubber was 13.
With the uniforms, is that, extending the replacement plan, or is that?
It's extending it to wait a year
Do
to,
another year?
yep,
How many years do we go now, 5, 4?
usually roughly 4. It's looking at a reduction in staffing, music position. We currently have 4 music teachers throughout the district, looking at possibly 3, just to throw it out there. That's a savings of roughly $51,000.
So with that, you'd have
We'd have to restructure music, whether it's, because we have,
elementary and then high school,
yes, middle school.
3 in high school.
Yep, 3 over here, 1 at the elementary.
How does that work, by seniority or how?
Seniority. Yep.
Go through that again.
Reduction of 1 music teacher,
One,
1.
what are we saving?
Roughly $51,000. $51,000.
That doesn't include health and, does that include the benefits also?
For 1,
That's a salary,
it's
correct?
the salary, yes.
Yeah.
Some accept benefits, some don't accept benefits. So we did it based on seniority.
Okay.
So
14 music teachers now?
we have 4.
4 total.
Yeah.
And this music program would pretty much stay the same, run the same, it'd still be the concerts in 1 through 3 for spring.
Those are
Christmas,
the
K2.
restructuring things that we would have to
That would,
discuss.
but that would
amongst the-
eliminate,
With hope not. We offer American Sign Language. American Sign Language, we had looked at reducing that to 2 grade levels. That has a cost of roughly $61,000 for just the base fee's 30, and each class is 15 that we are offering. So we looked at reducing that. We have, this would affect a few students. Mr. Broadbent, if we were to remove the 12th and 11th grade American Sign Language, roughly how many students would that affect?
6, I think, is what I'll take.
So we have 6 students that right now between the 2 at a cost of $61,000.
That's pretty pricey.
It's very pricey.
Cheaper, so
Yeah.
get a bigger degree.
I didn't hear that.
I said it'd be almost cheaper to send them to college than.
that could be something.
Looking at, right now, we use telespeech services for students that need the speech. We do have speech here. This was to allow students that have IEPs and 504s. We should be able to include that cost in-house with our speech teacher. This was something that we had in the budget for, say, if students were at placements, things like that, but we have speech in-house, and that could be a savings of roughly $8,200. It's on, do you have the?
There's 13,000 just saved.
Yeah, sorry, 13.
It's in the budget.
And that went in, for the speech teacher, that wouldn't go over her caseload?
Not that I'm a.
This
not that-
particular one was for a placement that,
Out of
where the
office.
child was placed didn't have speech therapy. So they did it for telespeech.
With the savings of what was just discussed, you're looking at a 9% tax levy increase and a budget of $21,730,665. $21,730,665. With a deduction over the course of 1 year, approximately $1.1 million. And that would put us at 9%. Yes.
I gotta back you up a minute.
Yep.
I sat and listened to you about, some of you people taking, a halt in wages, a wage decrease, or not, or no wage increase at all. And I'm assuming from that conversation that I just heard you, it doesn't mean everybody, is that right?
Doesn't mean everything.
So you're asking the taxpayer to give you 9%, but everybody up, not you included, but everybody else gonna keep, you guys are all gonna get pay increases. Is that, maybe not you, but I'm guessing half the school.
Well, contractually, I can't push that contractually.
Can I ask why? Why?
Because of
can't you
labor
do-
laws under New York State, I can't push freezing, or if there's contracts that are signed, we have to abide by them.
Okay.
And I know that's not the question you're looking for.
It's not the answer I want, but,
but that's the reality of labor laws.
okay. All right, now back to transportation.
Mhm.
Sports. Sports not here,
Mhm.
but these long bus rides we take to Thousand Islands, we take to wherever God takes us to. They cannot be eliminated where we stay closer to home.
We can definitely limit if it's non-league. If it's league, then it's a different story. Because there's a difference between going to these games as a non-league versus the league. We don't have control of league travel because we're part of the section.
3, yeah.
Yes.
But it definitely could be suggested that we come closer home with all our sports. I don't know what the savings would be, and I personally don't care, but it's just money.
Do we know
No.
the savings if we cut out non-league games?
I can get the savings for our next meeting, so that would be something, non-league savings.
And you're talking every sports season, right?
It would have to be. You can't start picking and choosing who's allowed to do what, when it comes. So I feel I'm a huge component of it's all or none.
So I'm just saying, if you could save on that, maybe you could keep it.
Are some of those non-league games actually closer than league games?
Some are.
So we have what, approximately 4 league games, or 9
Between
league games?
6 and 4, between 4 and 6.
4 and 6.
All sports, it's between 4 or 6. Football, I think they only play 1 or 2 non-league.
Oh, okay.
But football is hard because it's, how many schools have 8 man?
Yes.
How many do we have this year in basketball?
Non-league?
Yes.
I'll get that answered for everybody. I'll have to I'll look it over.
Well, if we have, say we have 6, we cut it to 3, how much do we save?
Transportation cost, and we can look at those, the distances would dictate how much we actually save and how far we're going,
Same way with forward too.
all of them.
I have to agree with Chuck with distance, it's crazy. It is crazy, I'll tell you.
And one more question.
Pretty soon they'll want to go to
Your,
Pennsylvania.
all your athletic and clubs and whatever, all are stipends, right?
Excuse me.
Is there anybody here that does anything other than the dollar amount? I mean, it seems like every sport, football, I'm gonna pick on football for a minute. There's 3 coaches on football. do they all get a stipend?
They do.
Okay.
Well, some are volunteer. They're-
Well, so, there's three
I know if you
stipends
see,
for
it,
football.
but then on the
Yeah.
sidelines, they're all not stipend.
I understand that, but they're the only sport that I'm aware of here, maybe track. They don't, that has more than one coach.
We have football, we have,
Basketball has two.
cross-country. Cross-country has roughly 30 to 35 kids a year that sign up. We have football, cross-country, we have swimming, track and field, and I believe that's it.
But more, they only, all of them only, football has 3 coaches.
Correct.
With track and field, do they have more than one
They
main
have, they
man?
have a head coach and an assistant.
With their, again, I know I'm picking this apart, because it's Patty, something.
This has 2 assistants on it.
For what sport?
Football.
Football, yes, football has 2.
2, okay.
So head coach, assistant,
Are these stipends? Because I have no idea how much they are. I just know, seems like everything here is stipend, a stipend, a stipend, Are they, what's the average stipend? I mean, it's so.
Anywhere from 28 to,
It's a step salary too, correct?
it is a step salary, the longer you do
So
it,
the longer
your
you've been there,
stipend
the
goes
more
up, so
It's contractual too?
it's contractual.
Yeah, through their union.
It's through the teachers, it's a negotiated item,
So they're gonna get it anyway.
They gotta kind of.
you know.
Well, as
those-
experience goes on, they get paid more, just like any other job.
Exactly.
Every job, the more experience you get, the more value you bring to the table. We just don't have volunteers anymore.
Well, even with that, New York State has made it challenging to, a non-volunteer coach, like a volunteer coach still has to have certification. It's not like it was 15 years ago where somebody volunteered, they could have, they didn't need their fingerprints, they didn't need their DASA training, they didn't need their child neglect and abuse training, they didn't need all these requirements. It's costing an average volunteer roughly $400 to $500 to be able to volunteer their time.
For the safety of the children.
Is there anything else in this school that people are stipend for that, other than our sports programs? I mean,
Well,
or,
your clubs, so clubs and, you know, whether it's, you know, advisors, drama, you know, production, musical, those are all stipends.
and the extras are all stipend.
Yep.
But I think unfortunately, when you work in a school district, you can't do anything for nothing. Does that make sense?
What about?
Absolutely.
And you can't.
How do you propose that we get people to do things without paying? How do you
Listen,
propose
I
it?
volunteer for everything here.
Yeah.
Not everybody does.
That's my point, but, and that, again, it's back to a dollar amount. Nobody does anything that's got a dollar bill attached to it, and I'm old, and I don't agree with it.
What about, the workers that we have at the games, like,
Chaperones, we could reduce the number, but with the growing concerns of behaviors and, stuff, I mean, we're getting phone calls, I'm getting phone calls after, you know, quite a few of our sporting events, because somebody misbehaved or couldn't behave, got thrown out, yelled at an official, used obscene language.
Cost of that.
I guess I just feel like at basketball games, we have,
Well,
If
that's,
basketball
if you're
games-
doing basketball, you're doing 2 games, that's $25 a game. So it's not like you're getting an astronomical amount of money to do it. It's not, I'm just saying savings isn't thousands upon thousands of
No,
dollars.
no.
You know, that's one of my big concerns is we have to, we've had a lot of communication with parents and community members that can't behave at a sporting
no,
event.
I understand, I feel like we have an SRO, like at basketball
Well,
games.
we cut back on the
Cut back,
SRO a
cut
little
back
bit
a little
because
bit.
that's not even included, that's
January,
through
we cut
Hamilton.
back on that.
But then you feel like besides that, we still need, how much are they getting paid if these, like, say basketball?
It's $50,
It's $50 per person, and then how many do we usually have?
roughly 3 to 4, depending on the severity of the game. We usually have one at each door. So it's a $200 right there.
And it's both varsity and
10
JV.
games,
Correct.
12 games on.
Yeah.
$50 a night.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's something for the officials, correct, too? They won't officiate if they're not, they
We
don't
need to
have
at
those
least
people
one
there
on the
for that,
grounds. Yes.
yeah?
Well, the assistant coaches coach under their, usually it's a JV coach that
Yeah.
goes up to
But I
varsity and
mean,
helps out.
They have extra people that are all volunteer assistants.
Yep, they only get one paid coaching position.
Right, so, I mean, shouldn't all sports get one paid coaching position? And the rest of them should be volunteer? I mean, that's
Again,
just
I'm
something
working
to look
against a
at, you know.
contract that, you know, that's something we can always negotiate and move
Do all
forward.
sports require the same amount of guidance? I'm pretty sure football and track with all the different positions and events that they cover, it's a little different than a basketball game where there's 5 people on the court playing 3 different positions. It's a different requirement for the adult in charge, and they shouldn't be treated equally for that reason, for coaching purposes.
I also know, like, cross-country, we have 35 kids that are running throughout the woods, and, you know, it's hard to keep track with one individual with 35 students, so you're looking at liability on those aspects too. Yes,
Hi. On the administrative contracts, like I know that pay freezes are contractual with, you know, CSEA and the
Can you
teachers
stand
union.
up?
Yeah,
I
I
can't hear
can't.
you.
The administrative
Sorry.
contracts, you mentioned that 3 of you and the administration are taking pay freezes. How many administrative contracts are there?
there's an administrative union that has 3 administrators on, and then there's, terms and conditions that work for the board. The terms and conditions ones are the ones, and we're looking at other areas to reduce cost, and we've had conversations, but again, this is the information I have right now.
Are the 3 that took the pay freezes, they volunteered or you?
They were volunteer.
Okay, great. And then administrative cuts, nowhere that you can cut part-time and save
I'm
somewhere
looking,
else on the,
right now, I've
Staffing
been
size?
looking across the board. We don't have the extra administrators here at West Canada. I have a building principal for both schools. I have a CSE that oversees approximately about 185 kids, whether 504 or IEP. You have myself, you have Kelly. You have, you have a food service that has to be in compliance with county health and the state regs. Transportation,
I'm just asking, because I mean, that seems to be the only part of the budget that hasn't taken a significant hit, which I get that there are so many things behind the scenes that we don't see, but.
we have, even today, I mean, today wasn't an ideal day. We didn't have kids in the building because we didn't have hot water, which means I can't have kids under Department of Health. And those were phone calls that went out yesterday to try to make sure that I was aware of everything. And it was something that we were able to get fixed, but Memorial Day weekend, try getting a pump. And they had to go to Syracuse this morning to find what we needed to get it fixed.
And then just one other thing, you mentioned the sign language, and even though it only impacts like, I don't know what you said, 6 to 8 kids. And I know, again, contractually, this could be an issue, but like, is there any way to, like, can those kids tap into Poland? They have sign language. You know what I mean? Like, are they able to tap in somewhere else just to be able to finish?
I can
You know,
have
where
those
they are.
conversations,
Just a
and I have no
thought.
problem having those conversations, but I can't make that decision. That's the decision of another district.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, but I mean,
But
we
those are
could do it on our
conversations
end.
that we have started, and we're also looking long-term, because we gotta look long-term too.
Mhm.
So we're looking at, is there shared service possibilities with neighboring districts that could help us in the future?
Right, absolutely.
They give you 5 months to come up with one budget, and then you turn around and you have 2.5, 3 weeks to come up with a second vote, and then, contingency. So in 2.5 weeks, it's hard to have conversations with other districts, because they might not have the need for it. But I can tell you that those conversations have started and will continue.
Perfect.
Yes.
You get that stipend from the windmill company, right?
Correct.
That had nothing to do with state aid, nothing to do with anything else.
Yep.
Why couldn't you carve that out? I have 2 questions. And use that to pay for the sports, which seems to be a big issue. It had nothing to do with anything else. That's a separate form of income. Couldn't you carve that out? I know you're still gonna have to make cuts other places. but that would keep the sports still being able to be funded, nothing to do with state aid. Second question, if this passes at 9%, what's our plan for next year's increase in taxes? You're saying you're talking about 5-year plan, I know it's been 3 weeks, but what is our next year's increase if this passes?
The increase is hard to determine right off the bat, but what I can tell you is right now, we're already looking at how do we continue to cut cut expenditures. Whether it's sharing services, looking at alternative ways to reduce spending within the district. That is something that we will full-heartedly continue to put forth a budget next year that is reasonable in the taxpayers' eyes. We have to get out of this situation, and using Dr. Tim's and fiscal advisors around us, we continue to look at where we can cut expenditures.
He has no forecast of what it would be next year?
It's hard to forecast when you look at the state and what year to year they're planning on doing. But we have seen in the last couple of years a reduction in state aid, and they aren't putting forth the money to education as they once did. So that means we have to read and react to the situation and come up with better planning for the future.
What about my first question?
What's the windmills?
Yeah.
The windmills is part of the general fund, and Kelly, I'll let you speak on this one.
The windmills goes into the general fund pot, just like all the other revenues.
But it doesn't have to.
It's a pilot payment, we have to.
But it doesn't, it's not tied to state aid, student participation. So that could be carved out.
We only have 3 more years on that.
Yeah, it's all.
What's that?
We only have 3 more years of that.
But you have it now.
We have it now,
You
yeah.
don't, you just said you can't forecast 6 months. Right now, you know you have 3 more years. And again, have you reached out to the windmill company to see if they're going to extend it? Which is what I asked last time I was here.
And we're in the process of trying to figure this out, whether they're going to, so.
Well, I understand you say you only have 3 more years, but this is something we have to deal with
If we
today.
carve it out of the revenues, then that leaves a $360,000 hole in the revenues.
But again, it's not tied to state aid, it's not tied to student participation, so
Tied to
it
general
could be
fund.
done without affecting,
Well, it would affect
Nothing
other
affects state
areas.
aid.
right, but it could be carved out.
Well,
What would the point be? What would the point be?
If we were to carve it out for athletics.
Well, everyone's concerned about sports, it would be something coming in to cover the sports, without affecting state aid, student participation.
It's already covering the sports.
It's already
part
being
of
used
the
for
whole
that.
general fund budget. When the windmill pilot goes away, then we have to look at finding $360,000 somewhere else to
You think
pay
it's gonna go away?
general fund. I have no idea if we need somewhere else. I don't know, I'm not part of that. I can see them, but I am part of it.
But they're here now, the money's
Yeah.
coming in.
And the money's being
And the
used
money's
to
been
offset
coming in.
our tax,
We've
Our
been getting the
revenue.
money for 15 years.
so we utilize that to offset our budget. And it's used in all different areas.
So it's basically saving sports right now.
Well, it's saving
Because
a
we
lot of
have
stuff.
that.
It's just all part of the general fund budget.
It already
It's
is
not
just spent on
designated.
sports.
None of it is designated for specific things in the budget.
And it would be fair if it wasn't.
Yes,
So, I know everybody's talking about sports, but I would like to be assured that we're not gonna lose another teacher, especially in 3rd grade, considering that our proficiency scores in English have dropped drastically. And 36%, 37% is pretty bad. So, I mean, everybody's worried about sports. I think we should be a little bit more worried about our education. So, can you say for a fact that you are not gonna fire another or let go another teacher in that area?
what do you mean by that?
A 3rd grade teacher, are you going to let go a 3rd grade teacher?
I can't speak on any personnel, I've been quite up and.
I just wanna know if in this budget that you're, and part of the
This
savings.
budget already, the 9% on the budget we're talking about already has the teachers in areas where we had to do layoffs already included.
Okay, so there are nobody new from, that's gotta go.
The only one that we were looking at is a music position, but there's no other teachers,
Okay.
classroom teachers included, not including the ones that we've already addressed.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying, you know, as a school district, we're trying not to eliminate the positions. I've sat on both sides of that desk. I've been laid off twice in my career. I understand that there is hardship, but the reality is we have to form a budget that we can get past so we don't have deeper cuts.
And I still feel that it needs to come out of the administration, because what's most important is that the people that sit with our children day in and day out, they are the core of this school. And so we need to support that core. And while, yes, sports are great, but I'll tell you, there's no kids coming out of West Canada that are gonna earn a living in sports. These children need to be able to read and write and do math. And if they can't do that proficiently, then you're failing as an educator. And so I really feel that the administration needs to be reduced. We have a lot less students, and there needs to be an administrator that needs to go away. And that's just my opinion.
Can I piggyback off that a minute? I don't think we're focusing on sports, it was just an area of where we were looking for cutbacks, and then it went to a different idea, track of thought, but when you have an administrator in an elementary building, I don't know how much Mr. Broadbent, not to put you on the spot, knows about foundations or Haggerty or the programs that they're using. His area of expertise is middle school, high school. Ms. Novry's area of expertise is primary, intermediate. It's completely different. And even though you have lower amount of students, you still have programs and things that they can't.
And I'm gonna get
Not that
rude,
they
I'm
can't
gonna
be
get rude
taught it
right
or-
here. Are you sure that she has, is that what she came in with, is primary and not junior high?
We can't.
We can't, I don't know where
Okay.
you're going with this, but
Okay.
all I'm saying
Alright.
is when you have someone working in the elementary it is what it is.
We can't talk about
No.
individual.
Well, we can talk about, and you should talk about the fact that our proficiency has declined. And that should have been brought out a long time ago. We shouldn't have to look that information up. That should be public information. You should be telling
It
us.
is public, we do it on, where you're talking the grade 3 through 8
We
state
go
tests,
through
we
the-
go through that in October.
Okay,
We do. And
We
it's-
all get, we
Yep.
discuss it, it's every year we get it.
okay.
Once the embargo's lifted, we present that to the, board meeting.
You know, John,
Oh, I'm
John
sorry.
So, going back to making all these cuts, and I talked to you a little bit today, and I understand there's a whole bunch of different funding streams, and we can't mess with them too much, or we'll lose this, and if we do that, we're gonna lose this, and it's all that stuff that I really don't know about. But again, we're in the 90th hour here, or the 99th hour, and how are you going to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because it shouldn't have happened now, and how are we, as the community, how can we help? What can we do? We're standing here, I know what you told me, we cannot get a contingency budget going on in here, or our kids will suffer, all right? And that's number one, we have to vote a budget in, because if we go to contingency, there is gonna be so much bad stuff that'll happen with these kids. So we can't do that. But we also can't do this. We can't do this ever again. There should never come a time in the board that we end up like this. And I get that you're new here, and I get that, I get all that. But however that got voted in, and you say, come to the board meetings. I don't have time to come to the board meetings.
That's
A
what
lot
the
of people don't
community
have
can
time.
do, though, is come to, and you asked, what can the community do?
exactly.
Come to the board
We don't know.
meetings.
We didn't know.
Listen to them.
Listen to them.
It was
online,
not
because they're on
communicated to
YouTube,
us.
And you can
There's
rewatch
information,
them
like
afterwards.
she said, she asked about information that we go over every year, and there's been other questions like this.
Well, I
Listen
think-
to them, come to them, be involved, that's what the community can do.
I have had children in this school for the last 35 years nonstop,
For a long time.
okay? Not a few kids. Most of you know me, I have a lot of kids coming through this school every year. And the bottom line is, this is a shame. These board members, some of them have been sitting on this board for years.
And what's that gonna do? Like, first of all, you
Okay,
don't have
okay,
time
hey,
to.
hey. At this point, we can sit here and banter back and forth, or we can unite and try to figure this out as a whole. And the reality is, it's not good. And people say this is what we're hearing about. Every time when I walked in and I got a list from the comptroller's office, and someone said, well, we never heard of this, I brought it to the board, I brought it to a meeting. Same thing when we went from being moderate to fiscally stressed. I brought it to the meeting and explained it to everybody.
Absolutely.
The reality is, we can sit here and do what we're doing, or we can come together and figure out a method to fix this problem. This isn't a unique situation. This is a situation in public education, I hate to say it or not, but every 5 to 7 years creeps up on districts across the state. That's the reality of this. This is my 20th year. I've been through this 4 times in 20 years. It's us working together, not pointing the finger and saying, I won't be happy until somebody's crucified for the problems of the past. But we are in the future now. I don't know what transpired before I got here. And I'm not running from this issue. I'm here to work with the community and work with the board on coming up with solutions. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could answer your question. But the reality is I don't. And I'm talking over emotion, which right now I probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, you should.
But we have some tough decisions. And if we continue to fight, nothing will be good for the students.
Well, can we,
Our students are number one. Our budget got voted down. It was a clear indication from the community it wasn't happening. Also, in the meantime, there's a lot of misconception throughout this community on what the tax levy increase. I heard things like my taxes would go up $3,000. That is untrue. I heard my taxes will go up $2,000. If I knew your taxes were going up $1,500, I wouldn't have presented a budget to the community. I'm human. I struggle every day like everybody else. Listen, I have 2 kids in school. I want what's best for my kids like everybody here wants what's best for their kids. So how do we get that? 15 was too much. We've cut $1.1 million from a small school's budget. And if we have to keep going, it's going to get worse. I saw 40 faculty members lose their job in 2007, 2008 at another district. I don't want to be that district. Yes,
Okay, so, what's the date? It's the 20, what of May?
26.
Okay, do we have a New York State budget passed?
No.
Okay. so-
Although on a positive note, she bumped it to 2%, so.
Fabulous, okay, so, we're flying blind, because how many days late is it? And again, that's, forget it. First and foremost, this district is the #1 school district in Herkimer County. That is something that we should all be very proud of. And this district has produced Division I, Division II, and Division III athletes that have gone to college because of the incredible foundation that they got at this school.
With scholarships.
With scholarships. So, yes, it is a priority because it's a launching pad. It also allows a student to decide who they are, and that's our job as parents, is to help our kids figure out who they are. So, to your question about eliminating the 5 o'clock bus run, as parents, will we have the ability to have our students here until 5:30 so that those of us that get out at 5 have the ability to pick them up. If we've got to do it and we make the sacrifice, that's one thing I can say as a parent. Will you allow me the 30 minutes not to get into a car accident on Route 8 to get my kid? That's number one, okay? 2, I have lived through a contingency budget at another district. It was awful. And the amount that boosters had to step up and help raise money for programs, we're all gonna be really close because you're gonna be asked for money every day. Drama club, softball, track. So what can we do as parents to help facilitate that? As far as if we've gotta step up and step in, boostering, and some guidelines that have to be put to that. So there's 2 things that I contribute on the positive. Also, the amount of liability that our coaches take on to put those kids on the bus for them to have a good experience, they deserve a ton of credit for that.
Thank you.
Piggyback off of that.
Yes.
I'm a teacher at Dolgeville, and I also have lived through a similar situation 5 years ago. I think a really good idea, coming from the outside and looking in now, is you keep saying if we go to contingency, it's going to be really bad. I think that taxpayers should know, like, it's this or it's this. It's 9% with this many cuts, or it's all these cuts at a contingency budget. I think that might help put things more into perspective in their minds.
During, well, contingency is we'd have to look for approximately 835,000. You'd have sports and athletics, I'll be right with you. And then, you know, so I think what we'll do during our budget presentation is have both.
Okay.
So you can see what 9% gets you, and you can see what a contingency budget gets you.
I was gonna say, I think the clarification is what is caught, clarification is needed for all this cloud to go away, because I think a lot of it is not miscommunication that you're not speaking to people, but miscommunication in that people aren't understanding it because it's not being explained in different ways. And so it's easy to say, as a board member, oh, well, if you're at a meeting and you hear this, this, and that, you know we're talking about it. Everyday citizens who don't go to the trainings and don't do other things might not know those things. So it's easy to say, oh, but we say it's different when it's not explained fully. So, like, looking up what the tax levy means, like, it will explain away a lot of that confusion. There was articles that have been out there over the past couple months with other districts trying to get their budgets passed that explained what the equalization rate means, and kind of clarifying it a little bit more for people who are not in education or in budgeting. And so I think that, like she was saying, it's, yes, saying 800,000 is a number, but if you show them that, it's like when you put an iPod in a, not iPod, the watches, whatever, smartwatches, Apple Watch. You put it in your cart and it says, do you want this model or this model? And you have to compare them. People, if they don't see the comparison, will not get in their heads what the difference is. We're gonna not have this, we're not gonna have this, we're not gonna have this. People will see it so much more clearly than just saying an $800,000 difference. It's a different.
So having the visual on the presentation on June 8th will be one of my priorities.
Yes.
And with the terminology so everybody knows.
And I can also get you some information on the equalization that might be helpful too. I don't know if that'll.
I was gonna say, I also think like she said, kind of putting it right out there, like your house is worth this much money, you know, and I know you guys don't know like the equalization rates and stuff yet.
The hard part is, and one thing I learned from a neighboring district was equalization rates, the hard part is they don't come out until July, so again, we're flying blindly. And we saw an area where, say taxes went up 3%, but in an outlining area in the school district, their equalization rate dropped tremendously and taxes went up 12. And people were calling the school, and I'm trying to learn from that example. Last year was a prime example. Equalization rates across our school community, Norway got hit with 11%, where you saw a decrease in other areas in the community. That is, I'm learning the area quite well, but it's hard to predict that when they don't give us the means to predict that. Yes.
I just wanna circle back, so you're saying 9%, correct me as I go from. So the 9% is an administrative freeze for the certain people. Kelly's or business manager is at 4 days. Yeah, my glasses on. The 5 PM bus run would be eliminated. But I think that's a great question though about whether they can stay.
But those are and just to piggyback off that, those are the areas that we have to work with the community to make happen. If we're asking the community for help, we have to have that ability, it's give and take.
Limit league games, and I'm a sports person, people, I don't think that's a terrible give. Like, to not have the league games, you know,
You mean non-league?
that's non-league games, I mean, I think that's a great, you know, that's a give, that's a doable, we don't have money. But anyway, I don't know a ton about that, but I am a sports supporter, but like I said, I don't think that's a bad gift. No equipment, which is the scrubber, the zero turn, and the uniforms is just extended, that's not, people are not gonna get uniforms, it's just an extension of the policy. That's the reduction of the sign language, it affects 6 kids, and that does not affect their graduation, requirements, I'm hoping.
They can get Spanish as a advanced regions diploma,
So they would have to start over in Spanish?
or continue in Spanish if they haven't already got to the point. So we have ASL 4, which ASL 3 is where you get your advanced regions in 3. We've already cut ASL 1 and 2 in the previous.
So they're kind of hanging there anyway?
So 3 and 4 we were trying to keep because those kids are the kids that are looking to get their checkpoint B exam in 3, and 4 was in college now, AP. Well, 4 is 1 kid. You're talking approximately $30,000
Yeah, no,
for that one kid based on numbers, and then the other 5 kids, that's if every one of those 5 kids decided to take it next year, and we pushed off scheduling because of so much uncertainty. We generally start scheduling in January. We're just starting to kind of sit down with kids now in May with we don't know for sure if this class is going to be offered. So the counselors are like they're going to be working extra hard overtime to figure this out through the summer. You know, I work with them, but they're the brains of the puzzle piece of scheduling. You know,
So I guess my short thing is, those kids aren't gonna not graduate because they.
No, they'll graduate.
No, they'll still graduate.
That was my short
I got it,
thing of
sorry.
that.
Nothing we get rid of would prevent anybody.
All right, so that was reduced sign language. The telespeech for a child who is a district resident but placed somewhere else,
Correct.
but would get speech services from us.
Those
Or
would be areas
would
that we
be
would
provided to them,
They would have to be provided, but we would be able to reduce that having tele.
the
in
tele.
Which I don't like tele, I think you need face-to-face.
And then the huge one which upsets me, but, is, music teachers.
That
But
rate-
those are, when you're talking 9%,
Yep,
did I hit most of them?
you hit every one of them,
No, there's
Oh.
a couple more on,
They haven't mentioned it.
yeah.
you know.
Okay, you've got,
There's more.
you got more to go, okay, so we interrupted you.
So what's the dollar amount of 1%?
$55,000.
So we need, so we were at 15, you're looking to do it at 9?
9.
So you're looking at $330,000
Yes,
in addition to what you've already.
which we've already done.
Thank
And my last point I just wanted is, this is not gonna fix it, everybody. This is not gonna fix it. I mean, he came, Rick Tims, correct me if I'm wrong, that day he said 15 this year and 8 next year. And that was to kind of fix it. So we said no to 15, and I get it, but 9 is not gonna fix it. So you're gonna have to, figure out, I mean, you guys are gonna have to figure out what you're gonna come at us with again. But if you're a community person, listen, it's gonna go up somehow. And you better budget, if you're a person like me, you're starting to budget, you can't do stuff that maybe you think you can do. If you're on a fixed income, you're gonna have to figure that out too. I mean, it's just bad, but I think we're making a big mistake if we say, let's go 9 this year, and we say, okay, let's go 9, and we don't have in the back of our head, hey, next year is not gonna be good. We've gotta have that in the back of our mind, that this isn't the end of it, which I think you guys have been kind of saying, but I just wanted to say that again.
I appreciate that, and that's where we brought in Dr. Timms, I think, and I spoke to Dr. Timms this morning after, we talked about the 15 getting voted down, and how our #1 priority was getting it under double digits, to try to get it to 9, try to get it as low as we possibly could without losing more for our students. And, you talk about tax caps. This budget had a 56% pass, but because we needed supermajority, we needed 60. With that being said, our tax cap, and this is a misconception across communities everywhere, 2% does not mean 2% when you're talking tax cap. 2% this year for West Canada meant 1.6% was the highest that we could raise the tax levy without needing a supermajority. And the reality is 1.6 generates roughly what, 80,000?
Not to interrupt, but do we need that again? Supermajority?
We would need a supermajority for anything.
Okay.
So 1.6 was the highest under New York State because of their calculations. We could raise the tax levy. So the 60%, that comes from the state.
The other areas of reduction?
We're going over the budget aspect because what I gave you was a list.
Oh, right.
They weren't all included. So,
The budget report. General fund appropriation, 2627.
and this is for a 9% tax levy increase.
These are the cuts in addition to what we had already presented for the vote. Mr. Sigmund had gone over the salaries. We had him and 2 other administrators that took a 0 increase. Mine is dropping 20% to go to a 4-day week, which in reality I'll be working from home the 5th day. 0.
But won't be compensated, so I'd like
Right.
to go on the record for that. Yep.
We removed the 13,000 for the floor scrubber in the maintenance section. It's on page 3 if you're following along.
Can we back up to you for a minute? On yours, would it be more beneficial for you to work 3 full days and 2 half days? If you're working 5 days anyways, you're not compensated to do 2 half days instead of the 4 days? 2 full, 2 half?
Realistically, I'm gonna be working full-time, so
Okay.
whether it's
Just
4 days
put
here,
it out
2 days
there.
home, or 3 days here, 2 days home, whatever, it's gonna be, it's not a full 4-day week job, but, on page 4, I transferred 25% of the the account clerk to transportation, because she does the bus notes and all that stuff, so we can make that move. That'll get us back aid on part of her salary. On page 5 is where music teacher, I reduced our substitute budget codes by 10,000 each code. And I had an extra teacher aid for special ed purposes. That would, I'm sorry, that's a lifeguard spot, next one. I took out a lifeguard because we do it differently now, we don't have to pay a separate lifeguard. The sign language came out on page 5, that was the 60,000. On the top of page 6 is where I had removed we've always had an extra aid in our budget forever, so that if we have a handicapped child that moves in, we have someone to service that child. So I removed that one.
And that's just pulling that number
Yes,
out of the
it's
budget.
just not a person.
So it's not
person.
a person's
Not a
position.
person, it's just, 25,000. The telespeech was for a student that is placed off-site, and where he was placed, their speech provider left. So they did telespeech with him, and now they have another speech provider on in-house, so we don't have to do the telespeech. Down to page 8 is sports uniforms.
That number doesn't match what was told.
What number?
The uniforms, starting at 20.
It's the same.
It's a savings.
The savings, okay.
We still had to leave that 5,500 in there for exam slates.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if something
Soccer,
exceeded,
baseball
that's what I
hats
was
and
thinking, okay.
Stuff that is replaced every year. The 5 o'clock bus run has been removed from the transportation, but can be put back. There is a bus driver. We had cut one bus driver. We had another bus driver that left last week that is not slated to be replaced. So technically that's a second bus driver. Transportation supervisor is taking a 0 for increase. And then if you go down to page 10, all of the benefits associated with all of those positions have been adjusted and removed from the expenditure part. Retirement system, workers' comp, social security, FICA, health insurance if it was appropriate, that's all been taken out. And that's what gets us down to a 9% tax levy increase. Cutting an additional $267,000.
Any questions?
Did we talk about the computer assisted instruction at one of our last meetings? I mean, I see here it's a budget for almost 500,000.
That is through our operational stuff, whether it's through the MORIC, which is Mohawk Regional Technology, that is included in that is all our IT, our support. We have IT on site 5 days a week. We have a director, a site coordinator for IT. That's through the RIF. That is all, it's aidable, right, Kelly?
All aidable? Okay.
Yeah.
Even like the computers and everything, because we're getting that all aidable.
We go through the.
We have 2 different ways we purchase the computer equipment. We can direct purchase it, and we have what they call hardware aid that we have to spend, it's $20,000 to be able to get that aid next year. And then if we don't purchase it with that, we purchase it through the RIC, the Regional Information Center, and we get this 75% aid back on that.
Yes.
It's a question / statement. Thank you for all of the time that you put into making those additional cuts. We, as a community, back up our kids, and we pass this budget for our kids. We then come together as a community from this point forward to address everybody's individual question that was asked today. What are we going to do about next year? Can we come together as a community and talk about the reality of shared services with other districts? Is it time to start looking at Hudson Valley, Buffalo, Long Island, seeing what they're doing to try to patch these holes? Because it is all over New York. Can we make that commitment as community to the board, that we can come back and start doing our research and saying, hey, what about this and what about that? Can we go from here, backing up our kids, making sure that they have a good 26, 27, and then we all come together as a community moving forward? Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it has to be a joint effort across the community, the board, the school district, 100%. And I think having those conversations already at the state level, whether it's regionalization and things along those lines, you know, it's sparking conversation that needs to take place in order to still provide a solid, concrete education to our children. Yes?
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but could you talk about your 5-year plan? We talked about it before, can you elaborate on it?
5-year plan is you have to look at the finances and you have to do the best job you can to understand where they're going. Projecting enrollment. Understanding that today, when you have 43 kids in a grade level, you can't have 3 sections. You have to have 21, 22, and you have to move faculty around. That's just the honest truth. And it's continuing to project, whether it's through our pre-K numbers, our incoming class sizes, and project that we're staffing accordingly. Other than that, it's still to continue every day on looking at cost reductions across the district. Whether it's looking at alternatives with health insurance or other areas that could have a potential cost savings, not for the short term, but the long term. When you start looking at insurance and you start looking at consortiums, things like that, you put out an RFP or a discussion for different brokers, they're gonna sell you the moon. First year, we'll drop it, you're paying 8, we'll give you 7, and then the next year they get you at 15. So it's being smart, but I think that's where a lot of this is. We aren't alone when it comes to these issues. We're a year or two ahead of a lot of areas, a lot of districts that are gonna be in the same boat. Expenditures going through the roof, revenues declining. It's the recipe for disaster. And it just hit us all at once.
Are we gonna continue to work with
Dr. Timms, yes, yep, and we'll continue to monitor, and I think Dr. Timms, when I spoke to him this morning, and said, we have to get this to a single digit, he agreed. We tried. The community told us that it was not acceptable, and I appreciate that. That is the right of the community, and it means that we have to present a new budget to the community that hopefully they can see we're making changes.
But just for clarification, we have to pay him. So that's not something we would do every single year. That is something we use to help us plan 5 years out, and then we go back and meet with somebody again.
Yep. But it's a process too, and you can't be afraid to pick up the phone when to ask questions. He's lived it, he's seen it, and he's seen it for over 40 years.
And he's very reasonable with us.
I know you looked at the music program, there was 4. Is there any other subject area or discipline that has 4 that you don't need 4?
Well,
Like in PE,
we have an athletic coordinator that also acts as a phys ed teacher, which the athletic coordinator does take them out of the building. So that is a hard area. Sciences, it's hard because you have labs and there's requirements. Social studies, it is difficult because one of our social studies teachers is a driver's ed teacher. So he's doing half and half. So those are areas we definitely looked at. We've looked at, we've downsized in English and math, and that's hard. You're offering less electives, but we felt we had to. We tried for math to post, we lost a teacher. We had no viable candidates, and we were able to maintain. So these are always going to be areas to look at, and it's going to be year in and year out.
I got a two-part question for you. Didn't get answered last time, I think we get answered this time. The one bus run, is that a wash, or is it even going to be explored, or are we just going to forget it? And I understand there might be some costs,
Well, it
if
was
it's feasible.
Yep. So it was explored, and the one bus run is not the savings everybody is thinking it is. We, this year, managed to get next year's budget, $1.7 million in revenue was generated through transportation. The year before it was 1.5 million. So for us to see a $20,000 deduction would cost us probably $130,000 in revenue because of the aid area. Also, we provide safe transportation across everywhere we go. Mr. Ray and his group does a fantastic job. Same thing, you know, in all aspects. We had 100% DOT pass inspection. It's unheard of. And we did take a seat, Mr. Ray and I sat down. This has been looked at several times over the course of the last 10 to 12 years. Back in 12, 13, I believe you guys had a similar situation. It was explored. But that's the problem with school budgeting that people don't understand unless you're in education. If you take from the services that you get aid out of, and you take too much, it affects you the next year. So if we dropped and our transportation drops, then we're looking at a bigger deficit because we don't get the aid that's expected back. I feel like right now, with how big our, 119 square miles, this terrain is tricky at times. We have areas where we can't get a full bus through. We have to have a small bus. These are all things that are taken into consideration. And then you have unfunded mandates on top of that. Areas where we have to transport students out of our district. And right now with 2 bus runs, it's feasible because we get students where they need to be, whether it's Utica, whether it's Central Valley, whether it's BOCES. All those times would have to come into play also because BOCES isn't changing their bell schedule because we went to 1 bus run. So those are other logistics that would have to take place too. But the savings is not there.
That's all people need to hear though. Like I said, I'm one of the guys, two people on a bus going by my house doesn't work. So, but that makes sense. So, but if you don't know that, you'd like to ask questions.
I appreciate that, thank you.
So, the second part of that question.
Yep.
Our swimming pool.
Yes.
That's astronomically costly for 8 swim meets a year. We don't teach swim here anymore, I don't believe, but.
We do teach weekly, yes, there are still swim units that take place.
Is it feasible to keep $100,000 pool going? And again, that's just a number, I don't know what it is. But is that feasible?
We've talked about that, but.
We've had those conversations about the pool. Yes, the pool does cost money. It also bumps your liability insurance, things like that. At one point, yes, the pool was utilized daily. Now, we're kind of phasing it back in since the last project, which shut it down for a little bit prior to me coming here. That is a tough conversation that we're gonna have to have. Long term, is it feasible to continue? But I know there's another district locally, it cost them roughly, probably close to $1 million to close it in. So it's gonna cost you one way or another, and it's going, because nothing in school is done cheaply. You have architects, you have contractors, you have all the people, engineers. And that's why building projects, when we tell you the cost of a building project, people are taken back, but there's a lot of hands in that cookie jar.
Is there any way we can utilize it more for the community?
Or can we empty it and just not use it for?
Yeah, that's gonna be,
No,
that's
we can't.
probably not gonna happen due to the fact it becomes a hazard.
Safety regulations.
When you say utilize it more for the community, does that mean like open swims?
Yes.
All those things come with a relative cost, so we'd have to look at
But as a
that.
parent, I'm willing to pay to come for open swim.
Mhm.
We've always had to before, you paid $5 at the door and you came and swam for 2 hours.
I can work with
Or
like
we
the
did
PTO.
aerobics and exercise in it, and we
paid for that.
Those are areas that we can look further into.
Yeah, that's something that we've discussed
Yep.
here as well, is how to utilize it, and even how to use it as a revenue generator. It's really hard with lifeguard rules, and the training for lifeguards is very different now than it used to be.
At this time, PTO does 3 open swims for K through 6
Yeah.
right now. We do 3 of them, but we have a hard time getting lifeguards sometimes.
You also have to take in, there's only one certified pool operator in the district, which is myself, and I have to be here as well. So if I'm not here, we have to either get somebody else licensed, in case I'm not here for some reason, in case an event happens, a bloody nose, or a kid goes to the bathroom in the pool, you have to be able to react and shut that down. So it'd definitely be beneficial to get another person, so.
There's a lot of mandates that come with the pool. Yes.
Well, I got a question about the big buses compared to the little buses. Is the revenue any different compared between the two as far as what you get back? Because I've seen buses go by my house, and in fact, I got 2 to go by my house at the same time, and I don't think there's 2 or 3 kids on the bus.
It is not different depending on large bus, small bus.
So why do we need all these big buses if we don't have the students
You
to
got 2
fill
or
them?
3, some of them are special needs buses too.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm talking about majority of the big buses compared to what you could use, you know, they make the runs with.
They
I
still
mean,
have
I
to
have
have
the same few.
seats. They still have to have seats for the kids, even if they're not riding the bus. Like, if their parent brings them to school, they still have to have a spot there, regardless if they ride it or not.
Yeah, but
9
you
times
still
out
don't
of
have
10
enough
parents will
kids
bring them
to
to
fill the
school, but they
buses.
don't bring them home.
Because you got a 2-bus run.
Well, I will tell you this, we did have enough for the buses when we had our fire alarm, because we had all the kids on the buses,
That's a
and
fire line here. I'm talking about
I'm
the
talking
bus
about all
line.
the kids getting on the bus. We had to have enough seats. It was a cold day, they put all the elementary kids on the buses, and it filled the buses.
You have to have enough, right, so if you
Are
have
you
40
talking
kids
about our
on
propane
one,
leak?
I'm talking about that wonderful day, we took a little afternoon,
And the kids
excursion
and
over to the bus
everybody did
garage.
great.
And it worked out okay. But we had enough seats for the kids to get on them because we legally have to.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you got all these 66 passenger buses, and they're all running around, and you don't have the kids to even compare to fill them, compared to if you had a smaller bus for the routes that you're running. You could do a different plan as far as fire drill.
Well, it's more of evacuation, so if
It was
they're-
evacuation, yeah.
So that, no, I mean, there's.
I was just saying that there were kids that filled the buses.
Yeah,
We do
that's
have
what, I mean,
enough kids.
I've seen, I've gone to school here in '72. I graduated. When we rode the buses were full. Man, okay, sometimes we had to stand up on the bus to get everywhere we're going. Now I see all these buses go by, I don't see the students on.
You know, and I don't know when you're seeing them, if you're seeing them after they've dropped off. I know that some of our buses, they are empty. When I go out to elementary, there's a good number of students on each bus leaving. So I don't know where in the bus run you're seeing them, if it's prior or after drop off, and that's why they look like there's not too many on there. But I go out every day, I mean, elementary dismisses, and they're 75, 80%, 90% full in some.
You know, can I suggest that maybe we take a picture at some point of the kids when they're getting off the elementary bus, and we post that on the district website so people can see how many kids actually do ride our buses?
Well, isn't it, so if there's, say, 20 or 40 kids on a bus route, you have to have room for 40 kids on that bus, even if only 3 of them get on that morning. You have to have that big bus.
And there's no happy medium, they're easy, they don't make a, you know, you have 66 or you have, what's a small bus?
So 22. It depends on the age of the kid too. So if a kid's grades 9 through 12, then you only can have 2 kids per seat. If they're grades K through 8, then you can put 3 to a seat. If you look around the district and you see some 7th and 8th grade kids, could you imagine 3 of them? Some of those kids are bigger. You know, some are my size, and fitting 3 in the seat is pretty difficult. So when we look at one run and stuff like that, we always look at, you know, going off from K through 8 as 3 to a C. So the numbers would condense and be very tight too, when we look at that stuff. You live on Fish and Rock, right?
Yeah, but I have one bus comes down, picks up one kid. The other bus sits above me for about 10 minutes at least, idling. And then he'll go down, he'll pick the kid up on the corner.
Yeah, so what happens there is, like we're talking about now with our 2 routes, how we absorb some of these out-of-district placements. That's in one bus meeting up with another bus to transport a student that has to go to the valley. So that's saving in cost from sending a whole separate bus run. That's why that one bus is sitting there. Fish and Rocks is a slower paced road than out on Route 28 to me. So that's why that happens in that particular area.
Yes.
I hear what the gentleman is saying, but as we talk about one run, that means one start time. Which population gets affected? Are the littles going earlier? Are the bigs going later? Are we splitting the difference? How's that gonna impact BOCES? One run has huge ripple effects.
No, I'm talking about 2 runs, but the big buses, you know.
Okay, but but at the previous meeting, one run was discussed. So again, if we're talking about making that kind of large change, there's going to be a ripple effect.
So the start stop time would have to be dictated by the CTE program down to the web complex in order to get our children down there for that. We looked at this the other day. It'd be 7:45 to 2:45 would have to be the times. So both would be affected a little bit, high school and elementary.
Well, I followed one kid over Skylar, or the bus over Skylar's, picked up one kid. He drove all the way down the Route 5 or to take, must be taking to Frankfurt or wherever he was going. But that was a big bus. You need a big bus to do that?
So, and the big buses actually get better fuel mileage than the small buses at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was also 88% reimbursed.
So that's a mandate that we have to do. You know, we're mandated to take them to that program.
With the budget going, possibly going at 9%, will we be able to absorb any, I would say major catastrophes within the school? You just had one over the weekend, as far as I'm concerned, you should close today. Where will the money come from, the boiler system? Or, I don't know, any other major thing in this building that goes to crap in the hand car, which we all know happens, you know,
The
unpredictable.
reality is that this is a tight budget, and with that, we have little room for major catastrophes, and I'm gonna be honest with you, because it comes with a cost of percentage toward the community. There are areas that if we have to, now, with any budget, you can get 2 high-cost students that come in August and totally takes this and throws it out the window. That's the reality in the times that we live in. So we would have to read and react here to any major catastrophe or anything that we would have to look at how to get fixed, whether it's, you know, little fund balance that we have, or having, Kelly, is there?
If it was a catastrophic
Grants.
capital
Grants
project,
if they're
if
available.
we could do an emergency project and get funding from it.
Need a grant to fix it.
Well, that was just my point, is like the boilers, everything in this building, they're getting older, and I know that I've been around forever. And what's gonna happen when, not if,
It's
but
what,
when
yep.
they go.
We actually had the expansion tank, our, what was it, 60,000 gallon expansion tank, sprung a leak 3 years ago. And we ended up having to do an emergency project through state ed. But you still have to have an engineer, you have to have an architect, you have to have. Thankfully, we were in the process of a project, so they kind of covered it under project fees that they were already charging us. But that's always an option, is to do an emergency.
Okay, if I,
Thanks.
didn't we have a mold issue at one point
Oh, yeah.
years ago with the floors in the elementary in 13? Same scenario. They had to.
We had to do an emergency.
Yes,
I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's easy for us to come and scrutinize everyone sitting at that table. I loved your fire. I know it was a motion from you, but I've been waiting for that. So thank you for that. But they're community members that we voted in to be up there. It's not easy. They don't have degrees in, financial administration. They go by recommendation, and I agree, the finger pointing has to be done with. We have to come together as a community and support them and the decisions being made, because I can guarantee you, everyone sitting at that table has had sleepless nights. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
I want to piggyback on that and just say that I appreciated the back and forth talk tonight.
Yeah.
And I thank everybody for coming out. It's not easy, and it seems like when times are tough, we have to come together. And having the last 2 board meetings with people here in the room, this is what needs to happen. We're all here for one common goal, and it's to make sure our students and our children here at West Canada have the best education possible within the means of what we're able to do. And we all have to work together. So I do say thank you for coming out. Okay.
Got a question back here?
Yes.
I have several questions back here. I got a little confused. When you said you were eliminating the equipment, so what happened yesterday, would that be eliminated?
No, because we need kids in the building, and we're talking any unnecessary, whether it's upgrading a floor machine or a lawnmower, those are getting removed this year from the budget. Equipment that we need to function this building accordingly, we always have to have money there to allow us to replace a pump when needed.
All right, that, I just wanted to know that. You said you were eliminating an extra aid from the budget that you kept in for years?
Sorry, you can go.
Why? Why didn't you just substitute it and then hire if somebody came into the district?
If we had, in one situation, we had 2 very high needs children move in within a week, that one required a nurse, one required a nurse and an aide.
So you couldn't substitute it?
We would still have to have the money in the budget.
Yeah.
In the substitute line rather than the aid line.
But when you say that, if you said there were high needs special ed students, you can always stack them at the end of the year and get the money back the next year.
We still have to have the money to pay them initially.
Well, you said.
That's where.
You said you were getting money back from the transportation. This is basically the same thing, really.
Yes, but we have to spend the money, we have to have the money to spend it before we can get it back.
And if you don't mind me saying, high cost doesn't always mean high cost.
I know what high cost is, trust me. You said the special ed director only has 185 kids. I'm glad you talked about sharing services, because I could see that being a halftime service with 185 kids.
That is a high number.
That's a very high number.
Very high number.
I had 360, so don't tell me what a high number is. You also said that, I was glad to hear that you said you were going to look at class sizes, and low numbers were not necessarily good anymore. 21 and 22 were good, looking better in class sizes. I was glad to hear that, because I was really upset one year when I found out the 5th grades all had 12 students in them with 3 teachers. I was a little upset over that. And an aide, no less. If they couldn't handle it by themselves, that's their problem. When does the administrative contract end?
The administrative they still have 4 years on theirs.
When does the teacher's contract end?
Their contract is up this year, so it's negotiation.
And what about the rest of them?
CSD is next year, and all the other ones are terms and conditions, so they're bi-yearly.
Okay. I think you've answered all my questions then. Oh, no, who's Dr. Tim?
Dr. Rick Timms he was a Erie 2 DS superintendent. He was the superintendent at Oriskany. He has a big background in state aid planning. He has we use their financial services here. to oversee, but he has a very rich background in school finance.
All right.
I would suggest
That's my
watching the
question.
video
Thank
from
you.
that meeting too with him.
I appreciate all the questions, thank you. Are we? So the timeline of what we're looking at. No, we don't have to. So the timeline of what we're looking at is we have to post, we have to come together for another vote on June 16th. Prior to, and it will run the same way. And I know people are gonna be upset, but I have to say this, we have to do all the mailings again. That is by law, under New York State. We aren't wasting taxpayer dollars, I promise. We have to do it as part of the budget process. So I wanna get that out, because I know that will spread like wildfire. So, on June 8th, we will do another budget hearing on the budget that was discussed tonight at 9%. I will put up the budget of what 9% looks like and what contingency looks like. So everybody will have visuals to understand where we're at and what we have to lose if we go to the contingency. So that will be presented. Any additional cuts that were spoken about tonight are the ones for the 9%. Any past ones are still there. It's not bringing people back. We had to reduce. So there aren't going to be any surprises across the board. On June 8th, we'll do our presentation. On June 16th, we will go to vote. And all I know, if you're hearing misinformation out in the public, urge them to call me. I've had several phone calls in the last couple of, since the budget went down. I appreciate those phone calls. You know, one of them was, there's no way in heck I could vote yes for this budget because my taxes were going to go up $3,000. That is misconception. It's misinformed. You're always going to have people on social media. Don't go down that deep, dark rabbit hole. I please don't go down the deep, dark rabbit hole. And if there are things that don't sound right, say call the district. Call Mr. Sidney. Call Jeremy Sidney, use my first name. But please, have them call the district.
Was there anyone that maybe would be eligible for an early, I know contractually you might have to look at it, but was there anybody that could be eligible for early retirement as a cost savings to?
We're right in that no man's land right now. Like, over here, there's been a lot of turnover.
Volunteer.
She just took out Heather Buck's garage, so, sorry, Felix.
You're too willing, they don't want you to do that.
So, there are areas we are looking at, but you also have to have the funds to pay all the early retirements, and that's.
Just a thought.
So the budget tonight that I'm going to ask the board to pass is the 9% budget that was discussed tonight. This will be the budget that I present at the budget hearing. If this one passes, this will be the one, no athletics, no extracurriculars are touched. And it allows us to continue to monitor other areas such as limiting non-league games or travel distance. These are all steps that will help us to start on a better foot for next year's budget process. And next year's budget process, I want to go a lot smoother where it's this. It's conversation. We do 5 budget workshops. If you don't go to a single board meeting, please come to the 5 budget workshops so we know where we're at and everybody's informed with the right information. Just like anything else, you learn every day. We're, in education, I've been learning for 20 years. Does anybody have any other, the only other thing on my agenda was to talk about a contingency. I think we're all relatively educated right now on what a contingency looks like. Unless anybody has any questions, I think that they kind of intertwine between the two bullets on the agenda.
I mean, I would say for the video, mention a few things you're gonna lose, but you're gonna do it June 8th.
I think it'll be brought out June 8th where
Yeah.
that would
I think June 8th
encompass both for.
I think June 8th will have a very clear description to everybody what we're possibly going to lose if we had to go to a contingency. Because on top of the $1.1 million we've already cut this budget, we're gonna have to cut approximately what, 600,000 more to get within the confines?
We're talking people.
We're talking people, we're talking
Sports and
extracurriculars, we're
extracurriculars.
talking the whole gamut. And it's not, I don't mean, I was a AD for 10.5 years. My daughter loves the arts and the music. It pains me to have these conversations. I don't take this very lightly. Any other questions? We'll open it up to public comment, but I think we've done a pretty good job. And I can't thank everybody for the comments, and I liked how tonight's meeting went, where it was back and forth conversation. So I appreciate that.
So are there any public comments online? No, okay, so I'm gonna, ask for a motion to enter, executive session for the purpose of discussing employment history and matters related to a particular employee, and also for the budget.
When we come back, we will both vote on this one.
Okay. So Ed first, and Sarah second. All in favor? Okay, motion passed.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Next on the agenda, we have our action items. Motion to accept proposed budget with a 9% increase for the 2026-2027 school year. Ed? What? Oh, excuse me, Ed first, Sarah second, all in favor? Oh, this is the,
21,730,665.
21,730,665. And, okay, so back to that, a motion to accept the,
As long as everybody agrees to that.
proposed budget with a 9% increase in 667, in the amount of $21,730,667. Ed first, Janine second, all in favor? All in favor?
What percentage and then amount?
No, just the dollar.
No, she wanted just to add it in.
You're
Okay.
scratching it first.
Janine was second. And all in favor? Motion passed. All right, next we have announcements. Saturday, June 6th, we have the Sherburne Pageant of Bands. On Monday, June 8th is another budget hearing and a regular Board of Ed meeting beginning at 6 p.m. Tuesday, June 16th, revised budget vote from 12 to 8 here in the high school lobby. And now, any public comments? Just in case. All right, no public comments, and a motion to adjourn. Janine first, Lisa second, all in favor? All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you, good night.
You get that?